Hi, everybody. I left I Am for I Am on for the intro because I'm so excited. We are going to have what in the world? They're not letting me stream on. Come on, Mr. Freedom Platform.
We need to get that X in line here.
X is now not allowing streaming unless you are a premium member. So it says go stream to a different destination. So we will. We'll be right back with I Am for I Am and the history of the CIA.
I mean, Secret Service. Secret Service.
The Secret Service. Okay, the Secret Service. Sorry.
No good. It's all good.
Secret Service. Right after this. Yeah, they won't let me. Wow. So I guess we are moving forward quicker than I realized into the pay-to-play future.
Yeah, I guess so. So.
That's
interesting. I can understand.
I do too. I mean, it's their platform. It's been a free platform. If you want to use it for this thing, then that's fine. I don't understand changing the rules of the game without notification. And maybe they did, and they're like, "Oh, we did," and you clicked the little thing to update your
Twitter. Ironic that it would be today. Let's see, the start of the Republican convention, the middle of the month. Kind of strange.
Banks are about to go down. Silver short squeeze is coming up. There's a big. We'll be talking about that soon. I've got a video coming up with Andy Schickman and Bix Weir talking about the MOAS.
I think that's going to be good. That's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that one.
It'll be good. Yeah.
Wow, what a huge news day.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
A little disappointing for me personally.
What's that?
A little disappointing for me personally.
Yeah.
Because I really was holding out for Ben Carson, Kristi Noem, even although I know Arizona really needs Carrie Lake, somebody like that,
Can you imagine Carrie Lake? I think it's beneath her, but Carrie Lake as press secretary, she would chew him up.
Yeah. Vice president, maybe press secretary. I mean, she was a reporter, that is her history or whatever.
Her charisma on the camera is phenomenal. She's sharp. She's smart. She would she would hold those the press accountable. She would do really well.
If anybody even believes the press anymore. I mean, I heard that the mainstream media was their first words out to the general public were that making fun of Trump when he got shot, that he tripped and fell, and that Secret Service had to escort him out because he fell.
And that the original CNN post on their website was something to the effect, sounds startled Trump and they escorted him off. Not that it was gunshots or anything. Now, they quickly took that down, and some others as well. But now the big hype is it was staged, it was planned. Even the Russians were involved in staging this. It's insane.
Well, at first they said it was Antifa, and they showed this big, large, dark man that was very large with the beard, the whole thing. Then now they're showing some skinny kid that looks like he's been eating too many mushrooms out of Boulder, Colorado or something. I don't know. And then saying he's 20 years old. I mean, many people are talking about this. We don't have to go into all this.
Right.
But I did want to share with everybody. I thought it was great that you did all this history and research for us. I love history. I never would have thought I would say that when I was.
Me neither.
It's really interesting.
But so when my spidey senses are every time there's some huge event, I first go conspiratorial, whatever you want to call it. And so I had to dig into the history of the Secret Service a little bit. And voila, that's what we're going to talk about today. And it will flow right into the events this past weekend. And then we'll wrap it up, I guess, with the announcement of the VP choice.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, let's do that.
Wow. So on Den.social, by the way, last week's posting is there, and you can take a look at that, as well as you can look at last week's video. You can catch it here on Den.social in the Mighty Layer. So let's move on to the history of the Secret Service. Pretty bizarre, if you want to. It actually shocked me when I started looking at it, and then I started thinking, hey, wait a minute. What happened with JFK in the Secret Service? But let's go back beyond that and go further back. Lisa, did you know that there was no protection for the presidents even prior to Lincoln? As a matter of fact, the presidents had to rely on, personal bodyguards, paying out of their own pockets, friends, loyal family, volunteers that they trusted,
Hmm.
local law enforcement if they traveled, military escorts, especially during wartime and this kind of thing. But there was no Secret Service to protect the president or members of Congress, anything like that. It was all upon that individual who was in the leadership position to cover that cost or work with volunteers or friends, family, that kind of thing. And then, the Secret Service originally had one mandate, and that was to protect the currency, from counterfeit. And that kind of grew into we need to protect the financial institutions. Secret Service protecting the financial institutions, spidey senses go up again and go, okay, central banks, Secret Service protecting the financial, system, right?
Okay, where does the Secret Service come out of?
That it's underneath the executive branch.
The executive branch.
The
Okay.
director of the
Not any form of military.
Right.
It's not. Okay.
No. And they report, the director, reports to the president. And in recent news, remember RFK Jr. running for president as a candidate, getting anywhere from 9 to 15% of the polls. He should qualify for Secret Service, especially since his father was killed, and especially since his uncle was assassinated as well as president, JFK. You would think that Biden would approve him to have a Secret Service detail, but he hasn't. He's denied it every time. But let's go back into history. So let's fast forward. Let's go back to Lincoln. This is an interesting story. A lot of people don't know this, but have you heard of the Pinkertons? The detective agency, the Pinkertons.
Mm-hmm.
Famous. They're amazing. And the Pinkertons, during when Lincoln was elected president and he was going to Washington, D.C. for his inauguration, there was a credible threat analysis by the Pinkertons had discovered that there was a plot in Baltimore on the train that was going to leave Illinois and go into Washington, D.C. to assassinate Lincoln before his inaugural. So the Pinkertons got involved in this. A detective agency gets involved with Lincoln and says, hey, listen, we want to prevent this. We think it's going to happen. And it's an amazing, intriguing story. And again, this is before Secret Service existed to protect the president or president-elect. What they did was they stopped the train at a different train stop in Baltimore ahead of the one where this plot was going to take place to assassinate Lincoln before he takes office, right? And what they did was they disguised him, and he was worried because he was a tall man and they're going to recognize me, my beard, I'm tall, da, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And they said, no, we'll disguise you. They put him in a different coat. They gave him more of a flatter hat, and they put him on a regular passenger train with everybody else. Nobody recognized him, with one man as his bodyguard.
Wow.
And the Pinkertons basically snuck him into Washington, D.C., and it foiled the plot to assassinate him before he took office in Baltimore. It was called the Baltimore Plot. Interesting.
Interesting. And their last names were actually Pinkerton,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
where the name came from. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
So
interesting.
it was a fascinating story. I'd heard it a long time ago. I think Glenn Beckett did a story about it. Um, so anyway, that now unfortunately, Lincoln is now assassinated, and that still does not create the Secret Service to create an additional mission to start protecting the president. That fast forward, we have another president killed. Then you fast forward to 1901, and William McKinley is assassinated as president of the United States. So Congress then acts and says, no, we need to have a special detail, a special security force to protect the president of the United States. And we'll extend it to members of Congress and this kind of thing as well. That happened in 1902, Lisa.
Wow.
So the Secret Service was not protecting the president until 1902, even though they already existed to protect the currency and the financial institutions.
It's kind of like the what is it? The alcohol, tobacco.
And firearms, ATF?
Well, they weren't always firearms. They were originally only alcohol and tobacco, and they were under like the ag,
Yes.
or
yes.
something like that. And then not until they added the
Right.
firearms did they change all of that.
Right.
So yeah.
So then 1912, Theodore Roosevelt's running for president, and he gets shot, and he's got his speech rolled up in his coat, and I can't remember something else. It was kind of more metal or tin, and that kind of prevented the bullet from penetrating him.
Wow.
An attempt is made on his life, and he finishes the speech. It's almost like Trump-esque, what just happened. He finishes the speech, and this is in 1912. Okay, so the Secret Service was already in place.
So then did we just have the undoing of, because Theodore Roosevelt also brought in the central banks?
Right. Well, no, actually Woodrow Wilson
1930.
signed it into 1913. Woodrow Wilson signed it into law in 1913, along with the IRS. And I
thought Roosevelt was involved in that.
He might have been for it, but he didn't sign it into law. It was
He didn't sign it
Woodrow
into
Wilson.
law. Okay, Wilson signed it into law. Okay, good
So
to know.
fast forward to 1933, there's an attempt on FDR. FDR is in the back of his car, and he's giving a speech, and the Secret Service doesn't prevent this attempt on him. And the mayor of Chicago happened to be with him at the time. He dies of injuries from the assassination attempt on FDR, like 2-3 days later. I don't remember his name, but again, I would say Secret Service failed. Now we go fast forward to Robert F. Kennedy, right? 1963, assassination is done. I call it a coup. I believe that the Secret Service or members of the Secret Service were in on it. Not all of them, but he's taken out in 1963. Again, at each of these events and these attempts or an event, what happens is the Secret Service keeps making adjustments. Oh, we need to do this better. We should do this. We got to watch for this. Line of sight, high ground. We got all of these things that come with snipers and military experience, right? 1972, George Wallace is running for president, Democrat. He is shot in a crowd of people. He survives, but is paralyzed. Gerald Ford, there's 2 attempts on Gerald Ford, women with handguns, one tied to what's his name? I want to say Marilyn Manson. What's his the
Manson murder?
Yeah, one of them's tied to his family.
Wow.
As which was, there's some really, we won't go there right now, but
okay.
Psychedelics and maybe some
MK Ultra kind of stuff.
MK Ultra altered states. An attempt is done. So 2 on Nixon, 2 on Ford, right?
Okay.
Foiled by foiled by the Secret Service. But Ford, remember, he was kind of selected to become president, and he was on JFK's um, Warren Commission, right? So I don't know. Long story short, we jump forward now to the 80s. Ronald Reagan, Hinckley does an attempt on his life, right? And he's in close range with a handgun. And Ronald Reagan, remember when he is shot, they rush him right away into the car and rush him to the hospital. Um, Versus, say, what happened to Trump this past weekend, while it's still fairly quick.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, in the 80s. So then now there's let me say this. I can't find it. It feels like it's been scrubbed, but I think I know where to find it. But supposedly there was a veteran who was upset with the Vietnam War and wanted to take out Nixon with a bazooka, and someone had given him a bazooka. And I can't find it right now in different searches, and I ran out of time for the show today. But there's some history there somewhere. Can you imagine? Supposedly it was in Miami, a building to another building where Nixon was at,
No, I
and the
can't.
guy decided not to.
Decided not to.
Well, he gave up, or said he wasn't going to after all. But so now I go through all of this that has taken place. I'm not going to get onto Trump right now, but could you do me a favor, since you got
Yes.
the posting there? Can you open up that spreadsheet that I have at the picture at the top of the
At the
posting?
top,
Yeah.
this one.
Yes.
Okay.
This is what I found out. It's really, and a lot of the people aren't going to be able to see this, but it shocked me, Lisa. This is what blew my mind. Okay, so we have Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, right? Assassinated as presidents.
Yes.
And then the Secret Service is created, an attempt on Theodore Roosevelt, an attempt on Franklin, an attempt even on Truman. Kennedy is assassinated.
His
RFK is
brother.
assassinated.
Right.
George Wallace almost, Gerald Ford almost, Nixon possibly, and then Ronald Reagan almost, right? So, but if you look, what I put in this spreadsheet is the directors of the Secret Service. So really, we only need to look at from Theodore Roosevelt on, because William McKinley is when they started assigning coverage for
Okay.
a security detail for the president. But look at this. Look at this. An attempt is made on FDR. The same guy remains in office. An attempt is made on Truman. The same guy remains in office. Kennedy, Rowley is director of the Secret Service. He goes in 61. Kennedy is assassinated in 63, and he doesn't come out until 1973. He retires at the Secret Service. Meanwhile, Kennedy is killed, RFK is killed, an attempt on George Wallace, 2 on Ford, and possibly an attempt on Nixon, and he retires in 73. So what does that tell you? If the Secret Service has a director reporting to the president of the United States, and they have failed to protect the president, and they are not relieved of duty, they're not asked to resign, they are not fired.
Maybe they're doing their job.
Exactly. That's what I was.
So I think there is a Simpson episode, and there are people whisperings and comms and whatever about Biden possibly being arrested. And, one of the whole point that Trump went through the recent trial or whatever, saying he's not above the law, no one is above the law, and that they aren't immune from unofficial duties just because they're president. And then they start talking about accusing Trump of, possibly having hits on people if he gets back in. I wouldn't be surprised if this is all a narrative, or this is the setup story, and then we're going to find out that it was ordered by Biden, allegedly.
Who knows?
Or
who knows? I don't think it was ordered by Biden. I'm gonna step back from that, but this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that the TDS, the anger towards Trump and all of this that's being fed to everybody over and over and over, those that are on the fringe might be willing to pick up a rifle and try something like just happened to Trump. The difference here is they know those people exist, but they didn't do anything to stop him. You
Right.
follow me? So
Yeah.
it's almost like they're complicit, but they're not actually involved. They've created the environment to foster somebody up like the person who took an attempt on Trump's life.
They say that that is part of that MK Ultra, and that part of them knowing everyone's information and what triggers people and what to feed
Right.
them on social media. And I mean, there's even been as far as conspiracies that if somebody were to have thoughts like that, that magically money shows up in their Cash App, um, to facilitate them purchasing things to
Right.
carry those things out, allegedly. I don't know.
Or a sack of money's dropped accidentally on
Right.
the front porch,
You know,
of
or
cash.
like
Who
a
knows?
20-year-old gets a ladder and told where they could go, and, you
Yeah.
know,
Too strange. Too
yeah,
strange.
high
And
power.
why the building's not protected. So I guess that this was my eye-opening moment right here, because for me, I don't know enough maybe about the ones prior to this. The two attempts on Ford's life, they were kind of wackos. The attempt on Ronald Reagan's life, wacko, right? So um, that the how can I put it? The JFK one, the JFK, we got Raleigh, who's in charge of the Secret Service, and he's there throughout that whole time frame. If anything, because of the deep state, because it was a coup, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I'm just a guy on the internet. My opinion is this guy should have been fired. He was beloved by so many people, but he was also hated by a lot of people in Texas as well. The South, shall we say, or the people that wanted, Cuba to be, you know, Castro to be taken out, all those kinds of things. I know there's, a love hate there for JFK, but even still, if the president of the United States, and if this was a government that was full of trust and trying to do the honorable and right thing, trying to protect the president, and someone who fails at that job, I think they should be fired.
Sure.
They should, if nothing, it's like it's almost like negligence.
Unless they're doing their job.
It's absolutely, at the minimum, it's negligence. So now let's fast forward to the events this past weekend. We have a lot of people call it a DEI hire.
Oh, come on.
Have
That was just for a good photo op. Everyone knows that, right?
right. Pharmacy has a lot to do with the Patsy. Boy, isn't that true? We know that um, we know that what's happened here this past weekend has been horrific, and the sad part is the people who are now going to have PTSD from this event, who saw ungodly things, the loss of life, and kudos to everyone who has been donating to the families that have been hurt and the loss of life here to that family. Um, it saddens me because it it's an event that shouldn't have happened. It's an event that's been stirred up by the division in this country, in my opinion. But more importantly, that building should have been should have had people on top of it, so that we couldn't have someone with a rifle, irregardless if they've been MK Ultra, to climb that building with a gun and shoot. There were 2 minutes, Lisa, and everyone, a lot of people know this. There were 2 minutes.
3 minutes. The guy says in his own admission, he had him in his sights for 3 minutes. They could have ordered that they ordered him to stand down, or he didn't. He says he didn't follow orders, or he withheld or something like that. And why didn't they move Trump out of the way?
Immediately, man on the roof got a gun. They should have moved him off the stage right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fortuitous that we have missed him by a centimeter. Otherwise, this whole conversation would have been completely different. uh, the idea that he's a fighter, obviously, to raise his hand of someone who's been shot in the face, and people say you wasn't shot in the face. It was his ear. Well, the ear's part of the face.
You
Uh,
get your ear shot.
whatever you want to call it, to be that close to death and still want to fight for the country, says a lot. Maybe I will vote.
Hmm.
So it was an eye opening moment for everyone around the world. It doesn't matter now if Biden goes the distance till November, or if they put whoever they put up there to face Trump. It doesn't matter to me. I don't think he can't be beat at this point. Um, but that building, there should have been coverage over that building. So why was this building unprotected? Why was this building not have a Secret Service on there? Why didn't the Secret Service have their detail expanded after numerous requests by the Trump security people? There's something like 39 agents that have signed on a letter stating that there's been mismanagement, there's been lack of training, bad hires, everything. Why did they take so long when the crowd is shouting for 2 minutes, there's a man on the roof, there's a man on the roof, or 3 minutes? Why did it take so long for them to take this guy out? He had to fire first before they took him out. Completely wrong. And this isn't it. I just don't think it's incompetence. That's my personal opinion.
No, I think they were doing their job.
Yeah, I think
and I
so
think
too.
that's what's being exposed. So.
And it's horrific. And if we could go real quick for people who haven't seen, if we could go back to the posting, I want to show the picture of the current director of the Secret Service. It's in the replies to the posting. Do you see her picture?
Yeah, give me just a sec here.
No problem.
Oh, in the replies.
In the replies?
This lady.
This lady, right. Can you bring her up?
Oh, are you not able to see it?
Oh, I'm sorry for the audience.
No, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I thought you guys could see.
So Kimberly A. Cheadle is now currently the director of the Secret Service.
Her history is so.
She's been guarding Cheetos at Pepsi. So, my opinion, the big question of the day is she going to be like Rowley, the director of the Secret Service, that stayed in after JFK, RFK, attempts on Ford, and attempts on Nixon, or an attempt on Nixon? That gentleman stayed in all that time? Is she not going to resign? Is she not going to be fired? Why? It's horrific. And when you look at that image to the next to her, it shows the distance from the building to the stage of Trump, and the next image in the reply also shows that. And I know a lot of people in the audience has already seen this. That building should have been covered. The one right above it, right there.
Yeah.
You can see where the stage was. The law enforcement snipers. Why didn't they take him out sooner? Why didn't a police officer run up that ladder if that building wasn't going to be protected and take him out? He was wearing plain clothes. He wasn't even dressed like he was a member of, the law enforcement to protect Trump.
The other thing is that he's 20 years old. He was actually kicked out of a gun club group or something for being such a bad shot, or not allowed to join, or something like this. Like, so many things of this don't add up. Like I said, everybody's talking about it.
For a lot of people with a lot of experience, with the right gun and the right ammunition, it might be considered an easy shot. But there's still things to think of. There's wind. There's, the height of the moment. This person would have to be so cool and collected, almost a psychopath, right? To be able to hold that gun steady to do something like this, I would think. So, for others to say, I could have made that shot, which is horrible to say, but why? How could he miss? Well, it's a lot tougher than you think. And especially with everything that was going on, there were people that were yelling There's a man up there, and you know that the shooter could hear it. And I don't even want to say his name. The shooter could hear those other people yelling at this man is up there. He's on the roof. He's got a gun.
But he
All
didn't take them out. He will, because did he want to be seen? Like, that's where, like, I'm sorry, but it's so, and I don't want to cause any harm with my own thoughts or feelings, but it's so much of a movie, and I'm sure some of that has to happen to reach different people at different places, but there may be more, personally, I believe there may be more similarities in this and the JFK assassination than people are talking about.
right,
And maybe we'll know someday.
maybe. Occam's razor is the most plausible, the most plausible conclusion or answer. It's just that, and I would argue the most plausible thing that people are saying was it was just incompetence by the Secret Service. It was incompetence by the sniper team. It was incompetence by the police department for not, going up there sooner and trying to secure the building, when they were told that there was a man up there. All of these things, uh, you know, I think it's no, I don't, I'm going to rule out personally incompetence. I'm going to say just another reason why I don't trust our government, and the Secret Service is part of our government. It was a coup in 62, 63, a plot to take JFK out, and that coup happened. We're under a mafia regime cartel, in my opinion. That's just me talking. And this isn't our government that we believe or believe it is.
They're not part of our,
2020 was another one, right?
yeah, but they're not part of our constitutional government.
No.
Were a special group that was funded by a charter through the executive branch. They're not part of our constitutional government, just like the CIA is not, the IRS is not. We can go on and on with all these three-letter agencies,
Yeah.
but that is not part of our constitutional, the republic. And so, if we have to expose the corruption that's gone on within, I mean, it's a parasite
Right. I agree.
that's come in and taken over the United States of America.
Now, I will say this. While this is proof that I think is a conspiracy happening, I will say this. I believe wholeheartedly that there are members of the Secret Service who believe in what they're doing and believing that they will risk their life, will put their body between a shooter and the president, whoever that president is. They are faithful, they are well trained, and they will do the right thing when time is when they are called. I believe there are good men and women in that agency who will do the right thing. But there are members within that agency, I believe, that also answer to the deep state or have been tricked by the deep state that Trump is the Hitler, or Trump is the whatever, the bad person, and I'm going to do the right thing by allowing this shooter to take him out, thinking that they're doing the right thing. But I still believe that at the top levels, it's like a mafia cartel. And like last week's show, we showed where the CIA and the mafia have worked together for decades and have taught each other things. So
I think that's great, and I think what you're bringing a real pinpoint, a fine tooth comb through this, and say, we've looked at the history of the directors and what action was taken. If that much threat was involved, if you were responsible for it, was your job to protect the president, and you didn't do it, and you kept your job, then what's the commonality there? And so now what's going to happen with this lady? Will she keep her job? Where's the accountability?
Will Biden take her out to fire her to make him look good?
He might buy her an ice cream. I don't know.
He might. Will he put in someone worse? I don't trust. I can't trust him.
Yeah,
it's
true. So be watching for news on this. I know supposedly the Biden administration and all that it is ordered a full review supposedly of the event. So it'll be interesting to see if Miss Cheadle remains at her post.
Crazy.
Crazy.
So anyway, Lisa, that is the history of the Secret Service, brought to you by I Am for I Am.
Thank you. I am for I am.
Point
So
Lisa.
how does agorism change the Secret Service or replace? What's the parallel system using
No federal
agorism?
government. No federal
There's
government.
no federal government. There
Yeah,
you go. There you
no
go.
federal government.
Problem solved.
Done. One big swoop. Check. Done.
Problem solved.
Everyone's fired.
I love
You're
it.
fired. You're fired. You're fired. It's
Yeah.
the apprentice.
I love
Agorist
it.
apprentice.
I think that would work. You guys, I am working on a show with Bix and Andy. If they don't, Bix has a golf tournament, so we'll see. But Andy's up for it. So if they can both do it, we're going to try to do it before the 17th, because the 17th is the MOASS, MOASS, Mother of All Short Squeezes. And it's about everyone buying, which we talked about this. I said, what if everyone took their, I was talking about if you got CBDCs. I said, what if everyone took your CBDC and bought silver with it? But they're doing another kind of Wall Street silver short squeeze thing. And they're trying to coordinate an effort to get everybody to buy 1 ounce of silver on the 17th.
Ooh.
And so if you want to be a part of that movement and be part of the MOASS and squeeze their naked shorts, which I think is so funny.
Aaron A talks about that, a run on the bank, but run on the bank is buying, buying certain cryptos and buying, gold and silver and gold back.
Because it will force the derivative market.
Yeah, it's his form of the run on the bank, but the opposite. We run away from the banks and we run to sound money.
Yes. So we're going to try to do a show on that. I've been seeing tons of comms around it. I've been seeing little Moses on the beach, on a sandy beach, and I'm just all kinds of things. It also made me wonder about the red wave thing. Anyway, we'll talk about it and more later. But thank you so much. I Am for I Am. I love the education, and I like that you really put it in this really poignant context where we can look at this and we can say, is she being held accountable? What's happening here? Is the future changing? Are we on a different trajectory? Are people being held accountable? So
that's right.
Thanks for bringing that.
I'm a crazy nut on the JFK assassination, so I really have dug deep into that. That's a whole other thing. It's one of
your books
that it just came out recently, the final analysis. Oops.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good. I haven't finished it. Obviously, it's pretty thick, but yeah, it really made me, when everything unfolded this past week, I just went, there's got to be some history here. We got to dig.
I think there's a lot of parallels. So
if you want to see that chart, go to Den.social. That's the place to see it in the mighty layer, and come join us over there.
Yep. Have a conversation with us, get some lot, and earn crypto while you chat. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, I Am.
Thank you.
Bye.